What's going on, everybody? Russell Clay here to do another episode of Clay's Corner. I think I have a good episode prepared for us today. We're going to go through a bunch of 2022 prospects I think we should at least be keeping an eye on. I believe at this time of the year, at this point in the college football season, we should have rankings somewhat solidified for the next year's class, but we're also in a information accumulating stage. There is no way we're going to watch every prospect from all 120 Division I schools over the course of a season. However, we can use some indicators to kind of get an idea of who we should be looking at. So I'm going to take you guys through some of the players I've been looking at this week. Some I have much better depth on than others, but we will talk about that as well. So without further ado, let's pop into this here. So number one is Malik Willis. I actually moved him up in my 2022 quarterback rankings. A guy that people have been high on even before the season. As you can see, he transferred from Auburn, but he's basically a dual threat quarterback. Let's get into the numbers here. Senior, really playing well. Obviously had some bumps and bruises along the way, but overall, this man has been the Liberty offense this year, and it's been really fun to watch. I was listening to a PFF live stream the other day, or it was Eric Galco from the Shrine game, but he had Mike Renner on, and they were kind of talking about Malik Willis and where he stands in the 2022 class. Some are very high on him. Some are kind of locked in on him as a first round quarterback. I am not quite there yet, but I will say he has made strides as a passer this year. So I'm intrigued. Definitely a guy to be thinking about as we sort of move into the latter half of the college football season. He has definitely made waves, and I moved him up to QB4 in my 2022 quarterback rankings. I still like Matt Corral. I still like a few other guys better than Willis, but he's certainly worthy of first round consideration, especially with that dual threat ability. Really good runner. So definitely keep an eye on Malik Willis. New guy, Brennan Armstrong. So I hadn't really paid much attention to him at all this year, but he's been putting up incredible numbers in this Virginia system. As you can see, in 9 games, he's thrown 27 passing touchdowns, thrown for 3,500 passing yards. This guy has been crushing. And the reason he kind of popped onto my radar is because of a DFS slate I was on. And, this BYU Virginia game, if you haven't checked that game out, or at least the highlights, I suggest doing so. But the part that kind of shocked me about Brennan Armstrong is the dual threat ability he's been showing the last couple of games. That is not something I viewed him as. I kind of thought he was just a pocket passer early in the year. You see those 400, 500, 400 passing yard games, and without the running, I kind of just thought, all right, pocket passer, maybe he's in that Kyle Trask type range of outcomes, maybe can be, a third rounder. But they have shifted things over the last month to where, or I guess you could say the last month and a half, where he's kind of running more, and he's more of a threat in that area of the field. So not something I expected. I did not expect to be touting Brennan Armstrong as a potential quarterback prospect to watch, but he is a redshirt junior, I'm fairly sure. Yes. So redshirt junior. He may not come out this year, but he's putting together a really nice year. And he does have some traits I think we should be keeping an eye on. So Brennan Armstrong from Virginia, definitely a guy that we're at least keeping the tab open on, unlike what I'm going to click off the tab right now. But I think he's a guy we should be seriously looking at, in that, maybe he can sneak into the second or third round when he does declare, if he does declare. All right. So UNLV, a sixth, 6-year senior, Charles Williams. Probably not going to be a high-end guy, but, we see this a lot with these smaller school running backs. They stick around. Thinking of guys like Jeff Wilson, Larry Rose, probably not a guy that rings many bells, but he's a guy I liked. These guys kind of hang around. And I think he can make an NFL roster. I did watch one of his games. I was impressed from a utility standpoint. I think at the very least, he's going to be a special teams guy in the NFL. I saw the San Jose State game, but obviously coming off a huge game against Utah State, 221 rushing yards on 27 rushing attempts. Also has had some nice receptions. Probably not a high-end prospect of any sort, but I did want to put him on the watch list just as a guy who I do think has NFL caliber traits. And hey, shout out to Charles Williams. I think he'll be at the Shrine game, or, kind of kicking around there. Maybe can become a 6th or 7th round draft pick. I'd say most likely right now he's going to have to try to make a team through being an undrafted free agent. But, again, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, we are consolidating information right now. We're in the collecting stage. So, hey, if you got time on a Saturday night, these UNLV games are usually at night. Check out Charles Williams and kind of move along from there. So shout out Charles. Here's another guy where I actually think we should be keeping a little closer tabs on Tyler Beatty, senior running back out of Missouri. He was sort of undersized, listed at 194. That might even be generous. 5'8", 194. So not a huge guy, but has been this sort of weapon over the last couple of years for Missouri that I kind of valued him as, all right, maybe he can be a special teamer or something like that. And with Larry Roundtree in town, it was kind of hard to tell if Beatty was held back by Roundtree or it was just he was going to be a part-time player. What we've seen this year from Beatty is that they are using him as a fully featured weapon. And by fully featured, I mean, we're looking at a 30 touch game multiple times type range. So Beatty does have explosiveness, really good receiver, not like a hyper athlete, but good. It has enough traits to where I could see him being that third down back, that utility guy, maybe in there as a third down blocker, and then can slip out for some receptions. So that Nyheim Hines, that Kenny Gainwell, that type of archetype. I think we're looking at another guy like that with Beatty. He's working on an offense that is really inconsistent. As you can see, his numbers kind of dictate, or I should say the Missouri offense dictates some of his efficiency numbers. So either they're pumping and he's going for, huge play, chunk play after chunk play, or they're getting completely shellacked. I mean, they have one of the worst defenses in the nation, which obviously doesn't benefit Beatty. So I think we have to take the good here. Let's take the good, look at the ceiling, look at the good plays, look at what he can do rather than, some of the limitations we've seen this year. I don't really have a strong read yet. I probably have to watch one more game or two before I kind of figure out where I'm going to land on this profile, but 4th or 5th round seems pretty reasonable to me. I think that's enough for today on Beatty, but if you guys want to check out him, see what you think, I think that's a worthy guy to check out that could be fantasy relevant in the next couple years. So I have been on record of being confused by the Tutu Atwell pick, a guy who was 140, 150 pounds going in the second round of the NFL draft. We saw Marquise Brown a few years ago in the 160s getting drafted in the first round. So I think NFL teams are adjusting to the new coverages, the new way defenses can, not really guard wide receivers like they used to. So a guy like Devin Tompkins, I would have just instantly crossed off even a year ago. But now that we've seen some of these guys shift into high pedigree draft picks, I do think we have to look at some of these guys. So Devin Tompkins, 4-year player at Utah State, was kind of a committee guy through his first 3 years and is really breaking out here as a deep threat, but also sort of a utility guy. It's interesting to watch how they've used him. So as you can see, the production is there. The featured weaponry is there. Kick returns. Nice to see that as sort of the versatility. They like him enough to, be in on snaps that aren't just wide receiver snaps. So that's a good indicator for him. Don't love the late breakout. Hate the size. 155 pounds listed as. And as I say, general rule, for listed size, you've probably given 5 to 10 pounds in the kindness from those team sites and team submitted heights and weights. So we are interested in Devin Tompkins. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see how he tests out athletically, but again, another guy to take stock in and at least keep an eye on. This is a guy, Jake Sorenson. I have not watched him, but obviously the production caught my eye. 986 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns, 17.6 yards per reception. Now with these types of guys, broke out as a sophomore, so that's nice to see. But when you're looking at mid-major guys who aren't really playing with any other NFL talent, we should really be seeing them fully break out in terms of prolific production before their final season. So, 2020, he was averaging 100 yards per game in those 3 games, and he's continued that trend here. I am interested in him, at least from taking a closer look at standpoint. But as I've said, when you sort of first dive in and you collect this information on the small school guys, I try to keep my expectations very low and then look to be pleasantly surprised, because once the athletic testing comes out, once that NFL draft position comes out, most of the time you are disappointed, or, I would say you're disappointed 90% of the time with these small school guys. So a guy we're looking at, Jake Sorenson, worthy of being on our watch list, but we don't have to go crazy and rank him in the top 10 of our prospect rankings yet. So put a little feather in your cap here and move on from Jack. All right. Jacquari Roberson, a guy I really liked. So I really liked Jacquari Roberson the previous couple years. He kind of emerged as the featured guy after who was the guy that was there before? Sage Surratt. Yes, after Sage Surratt and Scotty Washington left, it was kind of like, okay, who's going to fill in for them? And this Wake Forest system has actually been pretty solid despite it being a Wake Forest football program. They deserve some respect at this point, I would say, at least offensively. Roberson, 6'1", 182, really solid deep threat, has shown versatility, can play all over the formation. So a guy that I do believe has some versatility. Again, we're looking at a highly volatile prospect just because he didn't get on the field much in his first 2 seasons. So we can't really lock in a high-end profile. Power 5 school, did emerge his final 2 seasons, got off to a slow start to begin 2021. But as you can see over the last month and really over the last 5 games, has really emerged as the featured guy we kind of expected him to be. A.T. Perry kind of bumped him out and has kind of been one of the featured guys. They've kind of been trading back and forth based on the matchup. So if you're wondering sort of why Roberson didn't emerge into, an every game 90 yards per game guy, it's definitely A.T. Perry having an effect here. Sam Hartman looks good. Roberson is taking advantage of that. Wake Forest has been really good. As you can see, they're undefeated this year. So definitely check out Roberson. I think he's a top 5 round guy. Again, we're collecting information. If we like a guy, which I do, I like Roberson, we don't have to put him up there, with Garrett Wilson after we decided we liked him. But we can say, all right, Roberson, let's keep an eye on this. Let's see how he finishes out the year. Let's see how he tests out and keep it moving from there. So I do like him. Stearns, I don't know much about him either. I'll probably check out a game or 2 before the season ends. But look at this. I mean, what the hell is going on here? I got to check out a Western Kentucky game. The PFF guys were talking about the quarterback for Western Kentucky yesterday, Bailey Zappi. So he is a senior, must be a transfer, but he's been lighting it up this year. And Western Kentucky has been known for that. When they had the Tyler Higbees of the world, they were pumping out offensive production a few years ago. So, I think I will look at that. I'm leaning that Stearns is probably just a slot guy, but again, I have not watched him. If you kind of just look at the box scores here, you can see the intermediate production, those 8.2, 8.9 with 14 receptions. That's usually an indicator of a slot receiver who's kind of the dump off guy. So pretty straightforward there. I am going to check out a Western Kentucky game before the season is over. You guys don't need to. I'll do that for you. But Bailey Zappi and Jarrett Stearns are putting up some mega production this year. So I am going to be at least watching one game before the season's over to see what the heck is going on over there. I mean, look at these reception numbers. So we'll be taking a look at that. And lastly, Greg Dolcich, I actually really liked him before the year. I checked out some of his receptions from 2020, kind of that weird shortened season, 19.9 yards per reception. And personally, from what I saw, it looked like it translated. Now, he got off to a slow start to start the year. The offensive system is not going to benefit. It's, how do I describe this? It's good, sort of, but they spread it out and there's no featured guy. And maybe that's an indicator Dolcich, maybe isn't worthy of being a featured guy, but he is one of the main targets in this offense and has displayed that upside he showed in 2020 multiple times this year. I moved him up to tight end 4 in the 2022 class just because I have seen some traits that say, hey, NFL teams could definitely use this guy as a receiving down tight end. So 6'3", 245. I have a feeling he's going to test out well. He's really explosive in the open field for a tight end and a guy of that size. So I would keep a close eye on Greg Dolcich. Again, we are many months away from athletic testing and all that good stuff and NFL draft. But just wanted to give you guys an update on where I'm at. Not too much movement. I don't think I have much to update on the top guys. We've kind of known about them. There's nothing really new. So if there's nothing really new, we shouldn't have to adjust too much. So long way to go here, but I just wanted to give you guys an update on where we're at. Thank you guys for tuning in to Clay's Corner, and let's enjoy some NFL and college football this weekend and keep it moving. Thanks, guys.